Hi, I'm Alexander Flexman, and this is my friend Morgan.
Hi.
She's going to be talking with me today about the album and the behind the scenes of making it, the concept, and some little tidbits about some of the songs that you guys wouldn't have figured out on your own. So, let's get into it. The overall concept was Words of the Unspoken. It's a lot about, things that we all kind of deal with and face in our everyday lives that we don't really talk about. You know, this can be, societal standards. This can be, public-facing jobs, feeling like you can't step out of line, stuff like that. And a lot of the album is just a lot of struggles we all deal with, and a lot of struggles I deal with that I wanted to share that doesn't get written about a lot, especially, but with some obvious classic kind of things like, love songs and just sad shit.
Say, what was your main inspiration for creating this album? Because I noticed the theme to it, and I just gotta ask, what were your inspirations or life?
I had multiple scrap albums. I talked about this a bit on CBC before. And when I was in the middle of making an album before I scrapped it, Billie Eilish released her latest album, Hit Me Hard and Soft. And that was a complete game changer because it's very similar to Meet Me in the Woods by Lord Huron is the name of the album, if I'm not mistaken. And other ones that are very cohesive. Like, a lot of the album attaches itself to different parts of the songs. They have these transitions into the next song. So when you listen to it as a full record, it flows as one big musical piece. And Billie's does so much of that, but incorporates so many different elements, like certain chords from one song into another, and stuff like that. And she's always been one of my biggest inspirations. The album really came together accidentally. I was going through a really rough time in the summer, and there was one week in August where I wasn't at my lowest point, but mentally I had been going through so much in such a short span of time, like a year of just so much shit. It was like a cup overflowing. And I wrote 4 songs in 1 week. I wrote Endless Slumber, I wrote The Moment. I wrote another one that hasn't been released. I wrote What'll It Be? And then I wrote a song with Chase. And after that, it was mid-October, and I have half an album, and I'm going, shit, okay, I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. I'm just going to let myself keep going and keep writing and putting in all this time and see where it goes. And by December, I had the whole album planned out. And it was ready to be sent off into the world.
My next question is the guest musicians you had on there. A lot of them suit the vibe of your album, so I think it was quite a good choice. However, I think my favorite's Play Along.
Play Along, yeah.
Voice, it suits the gothic kind of post-punk vibe it has, in my opinion.
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of, kind of.
I love writing with Chase. We have a lot more planned. All of the artists on the album I was so happy to work with. The entire album was originally planned to be a collab album. One where I produced and wrote everything, and on almost every single song, if not every single song, I had features on it. Over half of them fell through, which was kind of to be expected, but then it was the ones that were meant to happen stuck through, and nothing was forced that didn't need to be put in there, and it still let me have so much of my own writing. So do we want to go into each of the tracks?
Sure.
Okay, let's start off with the intro, For You and Only You.
Well, as I told you earlier, that fit it perfectly, because I started, I was like, man, that's one atmospheric intro. That really makes it work.
Little record needle, yeah. I
good.
debated on putting a record needle lifting up at the end of the album. However, I couldn't find one that I liked. And I think the fade out was better. I also didn't want to, whenever I do end up finally getting vinyls made, to have some poor sod who starts playing a vinyl and they put the needle on to hear the needle go on again, to then hearing the needle go off and then having to lift the needle. I didn't want to make them suffer.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny. That would be hilarious.
Yeah. The intro's actually the very last thing I did. After I was done everything else, all the other tracks had been completely written, completely done, mixed and mastered. I went and I sat down and I wrote it all out within not even 10 minutes. And it was just screaming to me. And part of the intro is actually a quote from my first ever interview on the More Some More podcast on the More Some More YouTube channel, which was with Kelsey Fawcett. And Kelsey was talking about their debut single, Bread and Roses, and talking about their music a bit. And they said, my music is for you, but it's mainly for me. Because it's where I journal and it's where I get my feelings out. Wrote it on December 20th, apparently. So 4 days before my 20th birthday. When I first started being able to actually write songs, because I've been playing guitar since 2019. And I've been singing my entire life. However, I couldn't write jack shit. I had the worst writer's block when I first started dabbling with Reaper back in 2019. I couldn't write a full song. I had a quote-unquote album I made, which is mostly instrumental guitar pieces I'd written. And I just couldn't really write anything, though. Like, I really, really struggled to write. It just literally felt like there's a wall and I'm hitting it with my head as hard as I can. It's not budging. It's what it felt like. Back in 2022, I went through a really rough time. I ended up in one of the worst mental states I've ever been in my entire life, and I was starting to completely spiral out of control. And the only thing that finally grounded me was being able to write. And that's what broke it. And at first it was just the sheer raw pain. That was all that would come out. It's like my old version of my EP before Oblivion. Some old OG fans will know what I'm talking about. Just heartache, pain writing. Like, there's nothing else to describe it. It's like straight up eating raw chicken is what it feels like, you know? And it was finally being able to have that border gone. No more borders between fine lines. And that's a lot about how I wanted to become a musician, you know? And I didn't feel like I had a place or like a friend group or nothing. Because I spent a lot of my childhood moving. After the age of 11, I moved across the province, and the next year I moved to Fredericton, didn't know anybody. And I just couldn't keep friends consistently for my entire life. When I became a part of the music community in Fredericton after I moved back here in 2024, and in 2025, I started to feel like I actually had a community for the first time in my entire life since I was a kid. But my own community this time, you know. The world I dreamed and wished for isn't so far abysmal. And being able to, you know, have a music career and all this weird shit, you know. Yeah, that's basically the intro.
No, that actually is like the introduction to the album, the intro, and everything you mentioned in those introduction lyrics kind of gives the listener what they're in for. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And knowing that deeper meaning is like
Exactly.
It's starting you off. The intro is starting you off right where I started writing. The second track, Everyone's a Dog to You.
My question for that is, what was your inspiration for that one?
The title is pretty self-explanatory. It was about my experience with someone, me not having fully processed what happened with a relationship a few years ago. You know, like the first verse, I don't know what I'm looking for, staring at worms on the floor. Struggling salvation, calling for a nation. Pitiful lies make beautiful cries. Referencing humans as worms. And humans like to stomp on worms sometimes, so just, you can figure that one out. Yeah, part of that writing I actually wrote, like in that verse, like that whole worm reference is actually, I believe, was something I wrote originally in June. But I incorporated it because I was like, you know what, this actually quite fits with what I'm going for. What is in your basement? The well to what you've heard, begging for their return. Guess we're not the same as those who aren't burned. It is referencing someone else taking their pain and their struggles out on other people. And it's me asking them, what are you hiding? What are you burying from yourself? And the well reference actually is a reference to How I Met Your Mother. There's one episode in How I Met Your Mother where they're doing these, I think it's Robin, she's doing this reflection, but it might have been multiple of the characters. I'm not super familiar. It's been a hot minute since I watched it. Where they have these versions of themselves literally trapped in a well. And they just leave them to rot there. But eventually, at the end of the episode, they actually give them a helping hand and let them out. And that's what it's referencing there, is it's like, what are you burying in the well? What version of you or what pain have you gone through that you are burying and hiding? Anyways, next song!
Okay. So how about play along?
It's a lot to do with being afraid of stepping out of line in the public eye, especially. For us as artists, you know, and cancel culture is a very real thing. Fuck cancel culture, just saying. So for Play Along, we were talking about how there's this pressure. And, you know, it feels like there's eyes on us 24/7 and we can't step out of line. We can't do anything out of line. All this pressure, like there's hands just grabbing onto you and pushing down on you, you know. Pattern Table was kind of referencing like a map, you know, having to follow a map when you could just make your own path. But we're always expected to stay inside these little boxes and never go outside of that box. Won't seem fatal. You're just ungrateful to be their host. Is like me responding to myself as the opposite. It won't seem that fatal. You're just ungrateful to follow in the footsteps that everyone else is saying you have to follow. Such a catchy chorus, by the way.
Very.
This man is so good at lyrics, just saying. But you get the gist of it.
What about Trouble?
Trouble?
I kind of already know the gist of that song based upon the
Yeah.
lyrics, but
So,
for you,
Trouble, there's actually a deeper meaning to it in a way. Because when I was writing that first album of mine back in 2019, I was only able to write one lyrical part of the song. It was a chorus or verse. I think it was a verse at the time. But I turned it into the chorus for Trouble. Mm-hmm. And that was referencing me back then. I wrote this in grade 8. That was one of the also worst years of my life. I really struggled in public school a lot. And at the time, I identified as trans. I did for about 4-ish years. And eventually realized that I just kind of blocked away my femininity and didn't know how to deal with it. It was really weird to go back. I wrote I'm Not the Man I Used to Be back when I identified as a dude. And now singing that has such a deeper meaning because I'm literally not the man I used to be. I felt like it was an homage to 13, 14-year-old me, and when I first started trying to write music. And Nicole did such a good job at adapting with this song. It was actually originally one of the drafts from my EP before Oblivion. I had about 8 or 9 drafts of stuff I partially wrote, and that was one of them, and I decided to use it for the album. I felt like it fit quite well with the vibe.
Well, that has a deeper meaning than I thought.
Yeah.
But, you know what? That's good. It kind of pays homage to younger you.
Yeah.
That makes it more of a beautiful. How about Vampire Mania, even though that was also self-explanatory?
So Vampire Mania, it was someone that I had dated for a bit. Like, the chorus is very literal. I wrote it within a couple days of that person leaving. And I was very bent out of shape at the time and just needed something to just pour my heart into. Mm-hmm. And Vampire Mania was that. And I really loved the collab with Dylan. I love the guitars on it. His guitar solo
it's really good.
His guitar solo in the key change at the end of the song. What'll it be? Track 6.
So what was the inspiration for that one? It's kind of not like your other tracks.
It's a bit different, yeah. It's also pretty self-explanatory, but it kind of goes into the chain of capitalism, but it starts with the city's got its eyes on me. It's like going up the capitalistic ladder of, like, you know how you go from, like, say, like, you're an employee and then you get promoted and you go up and up and up, like, you know, the power work chain. We can't figure out what the term is off the top of our heads right now. The more and more you go up, the more and more you have to sell out. It eventually gets to the country's got its eyes on me, calling freedom a felony. If Spotify will take my fees to fund AI war drones, what'll it be? My stuff's not on Spotify for an obvious reason. Well, there's a few obvious reasons, but that's the general concept of the song.
Now it actually makes more sense to me, not gonna lie.
Yep.
Next is Spring's Beginning.
Spring's Beginning, yes.
That is one of my favorites as well. That has one catchy chorus on it.
The chorus I actually wrote before I wrote any of the song. Before I even got melody or anything. I was at Harvest Music Festival. I had the great opportunity to go thanks to Eddie Young. Love you, Eddie. Until last year, I had gone to see Little to No live music. So when I was at Harvest, I think I actually wrote it while I was watching Classified. I got a lot of inspiration from Classified, though. His set was so good. Like, I actually do have a secret soft spot for, like, hip-hop. I wrote, like, over 10 concepts at Harvest, and I used most of them in the album. But one of them I remember was wanting to be a better friend. And I wrote in quotations, better friend, better lover, better sister, better daughter. There was one night I was just rehearsing and I was playing Winter's End on the guitar and I started picking it and I went, oh no, wait, what if I move this up to this fret? Oh no, wait, fuck. And I'd written most of the instrumentals for Spring's Beginning, so I recorded on my phone. Next day, went to the studio, spent like the entire day recording it. Ended up using that for the chorus. It fits so well. People have asked me how much time I put into that song, or really the album. For that song specifically. Not talking about all the little mixing and mastering parts, just production-wise, it would have probably been at least 20 hours just on that song. What? Because the first day where I sat here, I recorded everything. That took a couple hours. I spent about 6 hours doing the lead guitar. Spent 4 hours writing lead guitar because I'm not an amazing guitar player. So I sat there and I recorded for the entire thing, just me fucking around. Would cut out everything I didn't like. I just did track after track after track after track. Till eventually I'd pieced together the entire part of the lead that I liked. And it took literally hours. And then it took me nearly 2 hours to record a good take of it. The worst part was my bassist came over to record the bass for it, Mero. She's fucking amazing. And she goes, your guitar's out of tune in the recording. So I had to spend another 2 hours re-recording everything.
Oh. Dang.
So,
well then.
After 2 very long headaches, I got about 20 hours into 15 to 20 hours. And yeah, spring's beginning. It's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people can relate to it. There's a lot of women that have told me, like, this is my favorite song of yours. And I'm like...
It really is.
It slaps. You want to better yourself, but there's something in the way and you don't know what it is.
I feel those lyrics too. I related to that song, and that's probably why I liked it a bit more than the other ones, except for Play Along.
Because it's like, I want to be better for all these people I love and care about, not just myself, but something's literally in the fucking way. I'm always very happy around people, but there's a lot of times when I'm by myself where I'm actually feeling things, and it's like, the complete opposite, and that's what that song was kind of getting into. I change over and over, becoming an art piece of my lovers. There was a really good quote I saw online a few years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. So you're a collage of all the people you've ever met and loved in your life. You take the little, and it was referencing, you take the little things that they say, the little quirks, like, the quirky things that they say, like there's vocal stems and, or like certain movements or gestures or, like they really like this tea and you started drinking this tea or the show or this and that kind of thing. And eventually you're just this huge collage of people that you love. 8th track, every villain needs one in their story. You have any questions about that one?
I'll be honest, self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory.
That's probably the most self-explanatory one.
That one is the most direct song.
Yes, absolutely.
It was the last one I wrote besides the end part of Swallow. The title's self-explanatory, the lyrics are pretty direct. Yeah. Next!
Well, that was like probably the fastest one so far.
I don't even want to get into it.
I love the laughing tonight. So it's like sometimes you talk about dark things and like the laugh happens. I'm like, okay.
I don't want to talk about it. It fucked me up. Yeah, no, that's really it.
You just did that. Oh my god.
Track 9 is The Moment.
It's a good track.
Yeah. That was one of the songs I wrote in that week in August.
I say that one's one of your most darkest tracks on the album.
It is pretty dark in some ways, but it's one of the deepest.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, one of the deepest tracks. I wanted to write something to get my feelings out that also was happy. And I kind of think it's funny in a way. Because it goes from talking about, oh, this, and it's like, you're listening to it and you're like, oh, this is really fucked up. And then still lift your head up, though. No matter what you're going through, you'll get through it. Just keep your head up. How your life can change so quickly like that, and it's like your entire world's been flipped upside down. It's just to give you hope, no matter what, just to always cling on to that hope, because what the fuck are you going to do without it?
I like the message of that one.
Yeah. 10th track, Swallow. What were your thoughts on Swallow?
It was like a 50-50 mix of... This album's pretty dark.
Well, yeah.
But it adds the vibe, though. Like, as I mentioned before, everything kind of connects to each other.
Meaning behind it is, like, a little bit, depending on how you interpret it, I guess, is how I would say. I guess it's kind of creepy and eerie because of the lyrics.
Yeah.
It was very much about peer pressure, societal standards. A lot to do with, like, how we just kind of went into a tangent. Like, Lydia and I just kind of back and forth. We were just like, because I had a different concept I gave her originally, and she wrote this really cool thing, but it was literally, like, fighting with the song. And it was because I just hadn't sat down and listened to the song and been like, this is a concept that would work very well with it. I just kind of threw something at it. And I was like, that was really dumb. Please keep what you wrote, though, make it into a new song because it sounds fucking sick. We just kind of sat and talked back and forth about stuff that we were dealing with and kind of related different things. Like, we related struggling eating, like, like, just how hard it is to eat healthy, like, people don't talk about that.
It's so difficult.
Like,
Everything...
healthy eating, remembering to eat, especially with your constant busy having to do this and that and this and that and this and that, and the way that, like, society's pushed that on us. But also, I referenced, like, working a day job, like a public-facing job, and how impatient people can be, and just no one even asks how you are. It's just, they'll do, hi, how are you? I want this. They don't actually ask. It is just being polite.
Everybody's so consumed in their own world and lives because everyone's struggling within themselves.
Yeah. They're crawling on us like little bugs. So it's like starting to infest you, you know? You're original, and then it's like the other person talking. You're original, you're different, you don't know what you're missing. How could you be conflicted when they're filthy, filthy humans? And then it's me responding, supremacist, you're an nemesis, put in boxes or neglected. Why would I follow when soon you'll be swallowed? Lydia came up with a great chorus as well. Very much just talking about how overwhelming it can be when so many people are following suit with what everyone else is doing. But you're being infested at all times to, you know, not be different and be like everyone else. There literally is like bugs crawling on you and infesting you.
That's kind of why I said it was deep, because it's true. As someone who has worked a retail job myself for years of my life, trust me, it's hard because of the societal norm and standards of just being this worker, or just go to a 9 to 5, just stand there all day. Nobody 100%. Cares about how you're doing.
No, nobody cares. They just want you to show up and work, and
that's just that purpose.
Yeah. Endless Slumber. Endless Slumber is one of my all-time favorite acoustic songs I've written. I consider it one of the most beautiful songs I've written on an acoustic guitar. That one's a lot about feeling out of place in the world and letting things go. It's also a little bit on the side of talking about world problems and things like that. The weird trees look at me is like referencing another lyric I wrote in a different song that's not released, which is about children wanting to grow up too fast and wanting to become those big trees that they look up to, you know? And then me as an adult saying, but when will it be my turn become one of those trees? It's referencing that lyric from a different song of mine. And the bats will take their tracks, moving on, never dawn. Bats are nocturnal, it's never dawn, so they never get to sleep. And so it's referencing accepting what it is, as it is, and not trying to change things. Whatever they show you on the front doesn't always mean what it seems to be. Behind every mark, internal scars. It's like, do we accept things the way they are, or do we just let them be? And it's sort of this divide. The outro is the coolest track, I'm just gonna say right now. Outro is the coolest track on this fucking album. You cannot tell me otherwise! In terms of not going, what's your favorite song, or this and that, I love performing it though. I love all my songs. I love all of my collabs. But outro hits so hard. But outro is a reference to the outro track of Billie Eilish's first album. When we all fall asleep, where do we go? She has, I'm pretty sure the name of hers was Goodbye. Starts off with, please, please. I put those in the song as well. That's the only part I directly took from hers, but re-recorded it with my own. But what she did for her outro, she took all these different lyrics from her album and put them all in one track. And I thought it was the coolest fucking thing ever, and I wanted to pay homage to her. You start hearing the song playing, Take It to Your Grave, reference to track 2, Supremacist, Your Nemesis, reference to track 10, Swallow, I Wish You Told Me Sooner, reference to track 8, every villain needs one in their story, Plane That Took My Heart Away, Won't You Come Back My Way Someday, Vampire Mania, Endless Slumber, and then I added certain tidbits that weren't originally in it. So then the Please comes in, and that's referencing Billie's album. And I find More Sleepless Nights referencing Everyone's a Dog to You Again. No matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, is referencing Play Along. I Want to Be a Better Friend, then plays in the background. That's referencing Spring's Beginning. And then I put in, Where Do All the Lone Ones Go When They're Cold and Alone? And that's referencing the concept of the album. And they've got their eyes on me as well, then says in the background. I loom over the conversation, but never straying far. References, Play Along. And that's the end of the album.
The album ties together very well with the themes and the ideas. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I do enjoy listening to because it's like tracks kind of play off each other sometimes, and I find that great. That's what I love within an album. And especially the intro, like how it starts, it's a perfect like opening to an album like that.
I would have loved to incorporate more transitions between songs, like where they flow more. but I like the ones I incorporated, and I don't think I would change it.
And the support for maritime musicians too, or like other musicians that have all these collabs as well on the first album is great. Like it shows that you're like supportive of everybody in the scene.
I sure try my best.
Create something with other people and collab with other creative ideas, and that's something I really like about it.
Yeah.
You want to include others into it.
I really enjoy making music, and I love working with new people. And like there's so many other collabs that are in the works. So many amazing collabs. I'm so ecstatic to share. It's such a wonderful community, and I'm just so beyond grateful for all of you for listening or checking this video out. And I really hope you enjoyed the album as well. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Stay tuned for so much more cool shit this year. And thank you for literally everything. You guys are my world. One love. Rock on. Thank you as well.
No problem.